May 2025, they took the most dangerous doll in history out of her locked case and brought her to one of the most spiritually charged cities in America. 3 days later, a historic plantation burned to the ground. The next morning, 10 armed prisoners vanished from a maximum security jail, and one of the men who carried her died. This is not a movie. Every single thing you're about to hear actually happened. To understand why what happened in New Orleans was so terrifying, you need to understand what Annabelle actually is, because she is nothing like the doll in the movies. In 1970, a 28-year-old nursing student in Hartford, Connecticut, received a simple Raggedy Ann doll as a birthday gift from her mother. Cute, harmless, or so she thought. Within days, the doll began to move on its own. She'd place it on her bed before leaving for work and come home to find it sitting in a chair across the room, legs crossed, head tilted, like it had been waiting for her. Then came the notes. Scraps of parchment paper appearing on the floor, scrawled in a child's handwriting, reading, "Help me and help us." The terrifying part? The student didn't own any parchment paper. She'd never brought any into that apartment. None of her roommates had either. One night, her friend woke up in the middle of the night, convinced something was strangling him. He looked down and found the doll on his chest, hands pressed around his throat. That's when they called in the paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren were the most famous paranormal investigators in American history. By 1970, they had already worked on the Amityville Horror and dozens of demonic possession cases. They didn't scare easily, but Annabelle scared them. A medium had initially told the student that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins, a child who had died on that property years before and who just wanted a friend. The Warrens immediately rejected that explanation. Lorraine Warren looked at the doll and said something that still sends chills down people's spines today. That is not a child. That doll is being used as a conduit. What's inside it is not human, and it never was. Ed Warren explained that demonic entities often pretend to be innocent, to manipulate, to gain trust, and ultimately to possess a human host. The doll wasn't haunted. It was a vessel, a doorway. They took her. They built a custom case, wood and glass, a cross carved into the front. They placed her in their occult museum in Monroe, Connecticut, alongside other cursed objects they had collected over decades. And Lorraine Warren issued one warning that she repeated until her dying day: never move her, never open the case, and never, under any circumstances, mock her. For over 50 years, the world listened, until 2025. In the spring of 2025, the New England Society for Psychic Research, the organization founded by the Warrens themselves, announced something that made the paranormal community erupt. They were taking Annabelle on tour. The event was called Devils on the Run. The idea was simple: bring haunted objects from the Warren Museum to cities across America. Give people the chance to stand 1 foot away from the most dangerous cursed items ever documented. Annabelle was the main attraction. The tour launched in May 2025. First stop, West Virginia, then San Antonio, then New Orleans. The backlash was immediate. Psychic mediums, demonologists, and paranormal researchers from around the world begged them to stop. Patti Negri, a respected psychic medium, said publicly, Haunted items should never be removed from their protected spaces. You are showing disrespect to the vessel. You are disrupting something that should never be disturbed. The organizers pressed on. They built Annabelle a new travel case, still sealed, still marked with a cross. Paranormal investigator Ryan Daniel Buell was tasked with transporting her personally. He later said he recited the Lord's Prayer the entire time he carried her. He wasn't wrong to be afraid. New Orleans was not a random stop on this tour. It is arguably the most spiritually charged city in America, built on centuries of voodoo, slavery, death, and unresolved grief. If Annabelle was looking for energy to feed on, she had come to exactly the right place. A TikTok video went viral almost immediately. It showed Annabelle's case being carried through the narrow, gaslit streets of the French Quarter on Royal Street, shrouded in black, silent, still. The caption read, "The energy is definitely different here." Outside the building, something remarkable happened. A woman blocked the path of the men carrying the doll. She was shaking a tambourine and shouting in a low, commanding voice. Her name was the Bone Lady, a fifth-generation voodoo priestess who owned a shop directly on that street. She told Annabelle out loud in front of everyone, "Go back to hell." People who attended the showing that night described coming out of the room looking shell-shocked. One woman claimed she saw the doll's hand move, caught on camera. One man refused to speak about what he experienced until he was standing directly in front of a cathedral. Another simply walked away without a word, face white as a sheet. Tickets had sold out instantly. The event ran for 2 nights only. And then, the city started to burn. Within days of Annabelle's arrival in New Orleans, 3 things happened in rapid succession, and none of them have been fully explained. Event 1, the fire. The Nottoway Plantation, the largest antebellum sugar plantation still standing in the American South, burned to the ground. It was built in 1859 by enslaved people for a man named John Randolph, one of the most powerful slaveholders of his era. At its peak, Nottoway held 155 enslaved people, many of whom are still believed to be buried on the property in unmarked graves. The fire was total. The owner said nothing could be saved. Investigators could not immediately identify the cause. Event 2, the jailbreak. The morning after the fire, 10 inmates escaped from Orleans Parish Jail during what should have been a routine head count. Authorities stated publicly that this should have been physically impossible without help from inside. 4 were eventually recaptured. As of the time of this video, 6 are still missing. Event 3, the death. Daniel Rivera, the senior paranormal investigator who had built Annabelle's new travel case and helped manage the tour, died. His death was described as non-suspicious. But within the paranormal community, the timing shook everyone who knew him. On social media, the reaction was explosive. One post read, 3 days after moving Annabelle, the biggest plantation in Louisiana burns down and 11 prisoners escape. Didn't the Warrens say she should never be moved? It was shared over 2 million times. Then came the rumor that made the internet lose its mind entirely. Annabelle had gone missing. Posts flooded every platform that the doll had escaped her case, that someone had seen her hand move on camera, that she was loose somewhere in New Orleans. The paranormal community went into full panic mode. Forums crashed, Phone lines at the Warren Museum rang non-stop. Tony Spera, the current owner of the doll and son-in-law of the Warrens, issued a firm denial. He confirmed the doll was safe, secured, and accounted for. Daniel Rivera himself filmed a video walking into the Warren Museum to show the case still in place before his death. The tour organizers insisted everything was under control. But here's what no one can explain away. 3 catastrophic events in 3 days, all within miles of where she was displayed, all connected by nothing except timing, and a 50-year-old warning that everyone chose to ignore. The tour continued after New Orleans. Annabelle moved on to San Antonio, then to Gettysburg, then Illinois, then Kentucky, and wherever she went, people reported strange feelings, disturbing dreams, cameras malfunctioning, objects moving. Coincidence? Maybe. But the Warrens told you, they told everyone, never move her. If you made it to the end of this video, you're braver than most. Subscribe to Beyond the Map Stories, because there are places on this earth that don't appear on any map, and the stories that come from those places you won't find anywhere else.